Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Haunted, issue 55. This is from Charlton Comics Group from the 1971 series. This issue came out in about March of 1981. So this issue features several anthology stories like most of the horror comics of this era. The first story is The Unholy, where Dr. Franklin Stein and his sidekick Igor, totally original characters guys, need blood for their monster to come to life. And they happen upon two lost young people that need some help, but oh no, there's a twist ending. It's not what you think, and it's a really dumb ending. That story is called The Unholy by Steve Morisi, drawn by Pete Morisi. Then there's a 6-page reprint story called Out of the Deep by Tom Sutton. It's written and drawn by him, and the art's actually really good in this one, whereas the first one was pretty weak art overall. There was some really good panels, but there was also some really bad panels. So that one was a little hit and miss, and it looked like the last page was just tacked on. Otherwise, the use of shadows in the first story was good, but the second story is far superior in every way. The story is more interesting. It's about a guy that gets shipwrecked on this island with a lighthouse, and he turns out to be a pretty big scumbag, and there is a giant monster named Cthulhu that, yes, is obviously inspired by Cthulhu, and that creature is on the front cover, which, by the way, that front cover is awesome. So that would have got me to buy the book, but the interior art is a much different story. The third story is called The Keeper, written by Joe Gill and drawn by Pat Boyette. And there's a one-page Baron Werewolf's haunted library story called The Great Houdini, written by Nicola Cuti and drawn by Don Newton. The cover is by Tom Sutton, and he did do the art for the Cthulhu story, so it's obvious why that would look similar. And I think that's the best story. The Keeper story is a bit silly. There's a guy that's going to arrest this person that owns a castle, but something mysterious is going on and the guy's attacked by a giant octopus and just kind of walks off like that's not a big deal. And the Baron Werewolf story is just a one-page thing about Houdini. It's got really good art, but it's just sort of a little factoid thing. Overall, this is a really mixed bag issue. The stories are okay if you're a younger reader who isn't used to horror stories. Like middle school age, I think would be okay with this if they haven't seen a lot of horror movies. But the second story about Cthulhu is probably the best one. The little factoids about Harry Houdini were kind of neat, but overall, if you don't have a real love of these books, there's not a lot here for you. The first story I thought was weak, but had okay art. The twist ending was really dumb. The second story was good, and it had really solid art. The monster looked really cool, lots of good detailing, but then you get to the third story, and again, you have weak character art. The backgrounds look great, the monster looked cool, even the shadows are well used, but the faces needed a lot of work, especially on the female character. And that story especially needed more room to expound upon, so I think that one would have made a good single issue. As it is, it's way too condensed. You don't get time to be attached or care about any of the characters, but that's my problem with most of these stories. The Cthulhu story was probably the best one all around. You could tell that one succinctly or expand it into a larger story, but the others all really needed more room to come into their own and have the big reveal mean something. So unless you have a big nostalgia for it or you really like that cover, I don't see much of a point in tracking this one down. Like I said, the second story was easily the best one and had some really good art, but I don't think it would justify tracking this down or paying a fair amount for it. If you can find it for $4 or $5 and you have a nostalgia for this era of horror comics, yeah, or you want to give it to a younger reader, then I would say go for it. I pulled this out of a dollar bin. My copy's a little beat up, but I thought it was worth $1. Beyond that, if you're out of high school, you probably don't have any real love for this type of storytelling, and it will largely be stuff you've already seen before, and some of the storytelling techniques are not going to be that shocking. I would say it's definitely aimed at a younger audience. Bit of a mixed bag, but if you can find it cheap, it might be worth picking up. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.